Alan Lee, welcome to Behind the Fiction.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me. I used to listen to you on AuthorBiz a while ago, and so this is a treat to talk with you.
It's a treat to talk with you because you made a claim at the back of the first book of yours that I ever read, um, something to the effect that I'm going to be your favorite author.
Yeah.
I would not say that you're my favorite author, but you are in the top 2 or 3.
Oh, good.
I love the 2 series that you have, and I think there were maybe 3 or 4 books into the Mackenzie series
Mhm.
when I started reading it, and I loved it. I am an old time reader of crime fiction books. Spencer books are right in my wheelhouse, and there's a lot of Spencer in Mackenzie August.
There is a lot of Spencer. Sometimes I worry I made him 1 inch too close to Spencer.
He
Yeah.
seems to be getting further away as
Good,
books go on.
good. So I love Robert Parker. He's on my Mount Rushmore of crime writers. And so when I sat down to write, something in this cousin of Spencer came out.
Uh-huh. And yeah, I mean, you've got, I was telling someone about your books the other day, and if you just described the characters, they would be, okay, this sounds like every other PI series I've ever read in my life. There's a tough guy PI, he's got a tough guy buddy, there's a beautiful girl, but it goes just way deeper than that. You've created a world and people who are so interesting that readers just want to spend time with them. So I got a sense like early on that you had a plan with this series that went beyond just I'm going to tell mystery stories.
Yeah. One of the reasons why this genre is still around, I think, is because the main character is not just a man or a woman that is going through life, but life kind of goes through them. When they show up, everything kind of changes more so, I think, than in other genres. Um, a private detective or a sleuth, somebody in this genre always has something about them that's unusual and different and makes people kind of sit up. When Lee Child started writing Jack Reacher, he made him he's like 6'8" or something. He's enormous. And that's just a very easy way of making, when Jack Reacher walks in the room, people kind of sit back and they get a little uncomfortable. And a private detective does that too. And the best ones, in my opinion, have this code, have this way of living that's different from everybody else. And it makes the people around them better. It's a good thing when your hero shows up for the other characters. And that's what I'm trying to do.
And so you have this heroic character who's also flawed, because why not? That makes it interesting. And then the other characters, they're all flawed in their own certain way, some more than others. But you've got this cast of characters that's both obvious and brilliantly clever. So you've got the sheriff. There's always got to be a sheriff or someone in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Who's a part of the deal, but she's a little bit different.
That's right. She doesn't quite fit the mold, does she? She's good at her job, but she's where she is kind of because of her face. And she's good, but the reason that she can do her job, other than men her age, is because we like to look at her. And that doesn't mean she's bad at her job, but that's why she's winning elections. And that's just a little bit off. It's just a little bit out of the cookie cutter, because all these crime novels always have a sheriff, and a lot of the time they're the same. And she's close, but just a little different. And I think those are nice touches that a good book can do.
Yeah. And another character that you have taken on to his own series, sort of with some of the other characters that are involved in the Mackenzie August series is Manny Martinez, who is I've never seen a character like Manny Martinez before. He kind of plays the hawk role. He's a tough guy that just can't be beaten, but he's completely different.
It's funny. I just released a book recently called These Mortals, and Manny has been growing in personality since book one. For a while, he was only a sidekick, and he kept getting kind of bigger and larger than life. And when you have a main character like Mackenzie August, who's also bigger and larger than life, suddenly having two of them in one book is tricky, because you need a lead alpha. And so when you have two of them in one book, I realized writing this novel that, this is a little bit, he's gotten bigger. Manny is more important now. And he is very much, when he enters the scene, he changes things. And so when you have two of those characters, you have to have one of them willing to take a back seat. One of them needs to put the other one forward if the scene and the story is going to work. And I sometimes characters just do things beyond your control. And Manny does that with Mackenzie. He takes a back seat to his best friend because he loves him so much, even though he is an impressive guy. And that made me like him even more.
Mm-hmm. He's a wonderful character. And then we can't, there's the female lead, Veronica Summers. We can't really get into much detail about her because, we want you to start reading the series from the beginning, and, she evolves, or we learn about her story as we go through the books. But what a fantastic character she is. What's
I'm
been the
glad
reaction of readers to her?
It's funny. I told my mother she couldn't read the Mackenzie series because, it's just kind of some of the bad guys use language I don't want my mother to see me, using. So I went back and wrote A Desecration of All Saints, which goes back around. It's a standalone, but it takes place kind of around book one. And I asked her to read it and let me know what she thought. And in this book, the love interest, her name's Veronica, Ronnie, she's a mess, but the readers love her anyway. And so I gave maybe the second draft to my mother and said, tell me what you think. And she was halfway through and said, I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this because I hate Ronnie so much. Because she was so, she and Mackenzie just kind of orbit each other and just mess each other's life up in good ways and some bad. But I had not introduced my mother to Ronnie in book one. She was jumping into this book. Mm-hmm. And Ronnie, when she first meets Mackenzie, is very sweet and charming, and then it just gets a little bit out of hand. And so meeting Ronnie is, if you don't know her, she's a lot. And she's a broken character, and not everybody likes her. I like her so much, but I get a lot of emails that are like, Mackenzie needs someone who's just so sweet and nice, but that's not who he fell in love with.
No, and I love Ronnie.
Do you? Good.
Yes, the character. I can't remember which book it was, but it could have closed her out of this book could have closed her out of the series. And I got the next book and I'm like, I hope she's in there early on, or I'm going to be really disappointed. And she was.
Oh,
she was on like the third page. Like, okay, she's still around.
So I had my newest book, without going into it too much, I had a lot of the women have to save the day. The men fail, and most of the subplots, women save the day. And I really like that about Ronnie. She decided to handle things herself. She doesn't need a man in this particular one, and I loved it.
Yep. Well, I am about halfway through that right now, so a little bit of a spoiler alert for me.
Oh, sorry.
But I'm very much enjoying it. I do have a bone to pick with you, and I kind of warned you about this.
Okay.
At the end of book 5, I read like the second to last chapter. I'm like, what a great ending. This is amazing. And then there was another chapter. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. But surely the next book is right around the corner.
And then it was not. Yeah, I know. I probably won't do that again. I got a lot of mail, and I thought it was because the book ends and the story's over, but then it's kind of like almost like an prologue into the next book, just to
Yeah.
let you know all is not well, and I won't do it again. I didn't realize how angry people need a certain. I think people like my books is it's just a fun place to visit, and I'll tell you about what Jerry Seinfeld has taught me in a few minutes. But people want to close the book and kind of smile, and I think I took that away from them, and I won't do it again.
Yeah, in my case, that certainly happened. And so, but I mean, the good thing is that for me, like once a week, I would go out to Amazon and search on Alan Lee just
Oh,
to see,
wow.
okay, where's the new book? 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 And all of a sudden, there's a Sinatra book,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what is up with this? And I'm like, I am not reading this book. All right,
Mhm.
fine, I'm going to read it. And then I read it and loved it. It's like, oh, I hope he does more of these books.
Yeah. That book was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. Sinatra is just a really cool character.
You want to give a little bit of a flavor of Sinatra?
Sure. So it's kind of based on a friend of mine. I have a friend who was born in America, but was quickly, so he's an American, but his parents weren't. They were kind of here illegally, and they were deported. And so he grew up in Guatemala for much of his life before returning. And now everybody's here from his family. But he has such an appreciation for the country he lives in. He loves America and buys American, and has just taught me a lot about what it means to be patriotic. And so I Manny is similar. He has a deep and profound appreciation for America. And he only will buy American cars, and all of his clothes are made in America. And it doesn't matter who's in the White House for him. That person deserves a lot of respect. And he is willing, he says, he said a few things that I love that just kind of fall out into the computer, and I don't know where they come from. He says, I don't have much in this world, so when America asks me to bleed, I will. And he is a patriot, and he's also a beautiful man. He just was born perfect, and he knows it, and he loves America, and then he loves himself.
That's a great summary of that particular character. And in the series, in the Sinatra series, and so Manny is Sinatra. He takes on the name Sinatra in the first book of the series. You
Yeah.
paired him with a woman who is like the exact opposite of him.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and she's a Mormon too, and he doesn't exactly know what he is, and so those two clash, and don't always get along, but they're such good friends, and he doesn't know how he feels about being friends with her, but she's becoming one of his best friends, although he would never admit it. And those scenes are so fun to write. I'm in the middle of writing another Sinatra book right now, and
Mm-hmm.
I just here's a brief spoiler. Manny gets kind of drugged, and he tells Noelle Beck, Noelle, I just think you're beautiful. And she's like, maybe you shouldn't speak for a little while. And it's just so great. I love it.
Last night I was reading and I got to the scene where he and Beck were talking about being friends, or she was talking about
Okay.
how they were friends. And that was a laugh out loud funny scene for me.
Good. I am not an especially funny man, but Sinatra is. He's great.
Yep. So in the Mackenzie August series, you put him in impossible situations. And that, as a writer, you're told, let's put your character in the worst possible situation and then get him out. but I don't know that I've ever seen anyone put people in such consistently awful situations as you do with Mackenzie.
Well, what fun is a book if your hero is not in physical danger, but also, there's peril to his soul, where he is forced to become really good friends with drug dealers, and who are going to challenge who he is. Can you stick to this? Because we want our heroes, we don't want them to suffer, but we kind of need them to suffer to find out this is what you believe, this is who you are, but are you really? So getting back to Robert Parker Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Parker Spencer, he taught me a lot when I was a teenager about love. So I happened to be reading one of his, maybe I was in college, and I was reading one where Spencer's girlfriend Susan leaves. And Spencer's broken up, and he is drinking too much. And I think he's leaning his head on the window, and someone says, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to move on? And Spencer says, and he's kind of thinking out loud, I don't love Susan because she loves me back. I love her because I love her. And she's left me, but I don't know if that changes anything. And that was a profound thing for me as a young man to be like, oh, this is what unconditional love looks like. And Spencer is who he is, and the world can't change that. And so our heroes need to be in situations where they have to prove that over and over. So yeah, that's part of what makes it fun.
Yeah, that's that. I remember that book, and it seemed like it took them a couple of books to get back together.
Yeah,
And
there's
those were the ones that stick with you, though. The ones where he and Susan were apart and dealing with all of that.
That's right.
So what's Spencer is a kind of, we've talked about how they're similar, and the sense of humor, things like that, the smart aleck comments. Both your character and Robert B. Parker's character have that, but Spencer is never put in the kind of jeopardy that Mackenzie's put in. I mean, he's occasionally in jeopardy, but there's never this sense that how's he going to get out of this? He just, he's going to get out of it. Hawk's going to shoot somebody, and it's going to be fine. I don't get that sense, and that's in one of the ways I think your series is different than the Spencer series. Is most of the time I'm reading the situation that Mackenzie's in, and I'm like, I have no idea how he's going to get out of this. I know he will, because there's more than likely going to be another book, but I have no idea how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
How do you, when you think of these situations, how do you, I think back to book 5, and I can't remember the title of it, but the battle, the fighting thing.
Mm-hmm.
And don't want to give away too much of that, but how do you even come up with this stuff?
So that's funny. A friend of mine finished book 4, and he wrote me a letter and said, I love these books. And I was kind of plotting through book 5, and he said, but you know what I would love? I would love it if Mackenzie hit more people. I like it when Mackenzie hits people. And so I thought, wow, we can do that. And so book 5 is about this kind of blood sport tournament. And there's a little bit of John Wick influence in there. I love the movies John Wick. And I knew in order for Mackenzie to truly get Ronnie, his love interest, that he had to earn her, but also she had to earn him. And we as a reader, even if we don't know it, we kind of need that. We need the people we care about to earn their happiness. And so he was going to suffer for her, and she was going to suffer for him, and they're going to kind of have to save each other. And one of the things about Spencer is he's so perfect. He's so big and larger than life that he truly is really never in danger.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we're never worried at all. I rarely can remember him even bleeding. I don't even know if he bleeds. So mine's a little bit more human, I think. Have you read Robert Crace?
Oh yeah.
His I'm curious. I think most people like Spencer a little bit more. Is it Elvis Cole? Am I remembering?
Yeah, it's Elvis Cole and Joe Pike.
That's right. Why do we like Spencer a little bit more? I think one of the reasons is because he's a long-term committed relationship with Susan.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know why, but it's funny. We keep talking about Spencer, but there's lots of good ones. We
Oh
just
yes. Mm-hmm.
latch on to certain people. And I think Spencer has higher ideals. He's more of a, we like his morals and scruples a little better.
Yeah, but I mean, the Elvis Cole series is a good comparison to that. And again, you've got the tough guy, although Elvis is not that much of a tough guy. The tough guy is Joe Pike.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the same kind of thing. But you're right. I mean, with Elvis, there are different romantic relationships that
Mm-hmm.
happen, and so I don't know. I've never really thought about why, and I love them both. But
Mm-hmm.
if I was given the new Spencer book and the new Elvis book, I would read the Spencer book first.
Me too. Yeah. Are you reading the new authors carrying on Spencer?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am. I have not read. I've not read the westerns,
Mm.
but I've read the well, yeah. I'm just
I
thinking of all the Robert Parker books. So
right.
I in my mind, they're all Spencer books. It's just, this is Spencer
Right.
in the West, and here's Spencer as a woman. That's Sonny Randall,
Right.
and then there's the actual Spencer books. I think, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. I think he's done a great job with that series.
Is it Ace? I think.
Ace Atkins. Ace
Yeah.
Atkins. Yes.
I read one and I liked it, but somehow you knew that's not Robert Parker writing it, even though I thought he did a fine job. But I think for me, I don't. This is cheesy, but I think I'd like for him to stay in my mind the way he was.
I understand that. Yes. One that I have not gotten into that much is Jesse Stone. I love the Jesse Stone series because
Mm-hmm.
Jesse was such a damaged person,
Yeah.
and they've been through a couple writers with that. I understand that the second one is better, but I lost it with the first one.
Yeah.
So who else did you read growing up that in this genre?
I grew up with a father who liked these mystery books, so he would hand me Mike Hammer, Mickey Spillane,
Mm-hmm.
Raymond Chandler. Oh no, who's Raymond Chandler? I forget who wrote Raymond. Who? Anyway, I liked The Big Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, Myron Bolitar. I
I
think he's
love
a pretty.
those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just picked up. It's not the same, but I just picked up Mark Dawson finally, and I'm enjoying his prose.
Are you reading the Cleaner series or something?
Yeah, the Cleaner series.
He had the Cleaner, and then there was a female character that I
Yeah.
liked a little bit more than the
Do you?
Cleaner series.
Okay.
Yes, I really enjoyed that series, and then it had a spin-off series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of good stuff out there, and
It is.
When I was at BoucherCon last fall. I had the opportunity to sit down with a bunch of old guys like me, and we were just talking about old series.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the kind of thing where I couldn't remember the title. I couldn't remember the author. I could describe a little bit of a scene, and everybody at the table knew what the book was.
Okay.
And that was a fun evening.
Yeah, there's certain things that matter to us, and I think they have a lot more to do with the character than the story usually.
Yes.
If we can describe a character and kind of his attitude and outlook on life, like, oh, definitely, we don't have to take long describing James Bond before we know. And I love the James Bond books.
Mm-hmm.
I've read most of those that we just, oh, of course, that's James Bond. And you don't have to tweak that too much before that's somebody else. And we can, oh, you're talking about Dirk Pitt. You know, these are people who matter to us because we kind of learn about ourselves a little bit through the good ones.
Well, what's the best place for people to learn more about you and your books?
Probably just Amazon right now. I don't keep up with my web page like I should.
No one does. So yeah, don't feel bad about that.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook or on Amazon, Alan Lee, and yeah, that's the best place for me.
Okay, so the first book is August Origins, the
That's
great
right.
place to get started. Um, the books are in Kindle Unlimited. You do have a box set, I think, of the first 4 books as well.
I
So
do the first 3. Would you say read August first or Sinatra? I would say August,
I
but
would too.
okay.
Although I actually recommended to somebody who doesn't read in this genre the other day, I recommended Sinatra first because I thought that might hook them more.
Yeah,
You know, for if you like reading in this genre, you're going to love the August series and just the way it's structured and the way it goes. And then you'll find that Manny deserves his own series, just like Joe Pike got his own series.
that's right. I haven't read a Joe Pike novel. Have you?
I have. I've read them all. They're very good, and I think I actually like them more than the Elvis series.
Oh, okay. I'm sold. I will pick it up.
Yep. So this has been great. It's a pleasure to actually make your acquaintance. I was very pleased when I messaged you out of the blue on Facebook one day and just told you how much I enjoyed the books, and you knew who I was, which shocked the heck out of me. So that
I did. I
you
have
made my
listened to
day.
you. Well, thanks. I'm glad.
Well, thank you for being here today. It's nice to virtually meet you. And for you guys out there, give this series a try. August Origins is book 1. There is a box set for the first few. And I think you're going to like these books. Thanks
Well,
for being here.
thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.